and welcome to GCSE Product Design, Design Influences, number 3, Ergonomics and Anthropometrics. Okay, first thing I'd like you to think about is, what do you think makes this chair comfortable and easy to use? Pause the video if you want to take some time to do this, or just let it run through and I'll point out some of the things. Okay, you've probably spotted things like it's adjustable, you can move it up and down, you can angle the back, it's got armrests which you can raise actually up and down, it's got a padded shaped seat, it's got a curved back that's got mesh that makes it nice and easy to sit on without getting too sweaty, and it's also got wheels so you can push it around. Okay, so those are all things that would make it nice and comfy and easy to use, and that is really what ergonomics is all about. Products that are comfortable and easy to use. The actual official term that you can put into your booklets would be the study of people and their relationship with the environment around them. Okay, so it's not just about comfort and ease of use, all right, but it's how you interact with the environment around you, whether that's a product or a place. So for example, if you were designing a mobile phone, all right, your ergonomic considerations would include things like the buttons. Are they the correct size and distance apart? Is the text big enough to read on a button? Does the weight of the phone feel okay in your hand, or is it too heavy? Is it comfortable to hold? Can you actually feel the vibration? Can you sense it when it's in your pocket and it's on silent? Can you actually hear the ringtones, the volume of them? Is the distance between the microphone and the speaker good enough for you to actually use it? Okay, so a whole range of things there, ergonomic considerations. You must also think about the environment that you're actually going to be sat in. Now, most people work best at room temperature, which is about 20 degrees centigrade, nice, comfortable working temperature. However, there are other things you need to consider when you're in that environment, such as noise, vibration, light, and even smell. Okay, you must also consider graphics in terms of ergonomics, whether or not you can actually read a particular level of text. Obviously, as things get smaller, it gets more difficult to read. You may often see this on adverts when they're trying to sort of sell you loans and stuff, and very quickly they'll put all the sort of little terms and conditions in a small sort of sentence right at the bottom of the screen in a very tiny font that's all squashed together, that's actually impossible to read in that time. An example here of a poorly ergonomically designed logo, okay, is this one here that says Game Labs. All right, I know it's very difficult to actually sort of see what it is, but it's supposed to be able to work upside or down. Part of ergonomics is looking at anthropometrics. Anthropometrics is all about measurements of people. That includes body parts, such as like length of arms, length of legs, but it also includes the range of movement. In other words, well, what kind of movement can I get out of my arm? What kind of path can it take? How far can I manipulate my thumb? And anthropometric data is often presented in charts and tables like this on the right. And what you'll see is lots and lots of average measurements. So for example, remember when we did the bottle project, we did this task where we worked out the average grip size of the class. I think it ended up being about 41 millimeters, I think was the comfortable one. Now, when you look at anthropometric data, you will get these things called percentiles. Okay, now a percentile represents the smallest and the largest group of people. Okay, the smallest and the largest average. So for example, if we got everybody lined up in terms of height order, okay, from the smallest person in school to the largest, and measured their heights on a graph, you would end up with something called a bell curve, which means that there are a few people who are quite small, there are a few people who are really tall. Most people, though, fit into this big middle, okay? This is what we call the 50th percentile, this large middle group. And designers usually designed for that 50th percentile because it means that more people will buy their product. However, you do need to think sometimes about the smaller section of people and the larger. Now, this doesn't just apply to height, this may apply to hand size, foot size, the length from shoulder to foot, etc. So all anthropometric data is shown using percentiles. So for example, if you were designing a door frame, then you would design it for the 95th percentile. You want the tallest people to be able to fit through that door. If you did it for the 50th percentile, then it would be too short. If you were designing something like a bottle cap, you would want as many people as possible to be able to use it, so you would design it for the 50th percentile. If you were designing a lawnmower and you had an engine hidden here which needed ventilation slots, those slots would have to take into account the 5th percentile. In other words, you wouldn't even want people with tiny fingers being able to get them into those vent gaps. Now, most design caters for what we call normal people. But what is normal? Well, according to designers, normal is someone who is fit, non-disabled, male, single, young, average height, average weight. Okay? Now, that obviously seems to sort of discriminate against quite a few people, but that's just because they're just aiming for that average person right down the middle so that they can cater for as many people as possible. However, what is normal? Okay, we will all suffer some sort of temporary disability in our life. We will break a leg, so we won't be able to sort of walk properly. And all of us are growing old. I know you might not think about it at your age, but we all are. And we're all different sizes, okay? In other words, we're all different. Now, this gave rise to what we call inclusive design, which is where designers try to design for all. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean everybody on the planet, but what it does mean is trying to exclude as few people as possible. You want to try and design for the widest possible audience. So, for example, the London taxi cab, they redesigned their taxis to allow for wheelchair access. And you can push chairs up so that you can isolate areas of the back, so you can actually put a wheelchair up a ramp. The Oxo company designed a range of good grip kitchen tools that would be able to be gripped by people with arthritis or old people. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's only old people that can use them, because they're really, really good and nice and easy to grip and nice and easy to use. Now, inclusive design is important because by 2020, close to half the adult population of the UK is going to be over 50. Okay, and in the UK, only that bracket, that 50 plus age bracket, has increased significantly over the past 100 years. This is because of things such as better healthcare, okay, and less people dying at the end of the day. Okay, they just keep going and going, getting older. But as they get older, we will change physically, mentally, and psychologically. Okay, you will get what we call like minor impairments. In other words, your eyesight will start to go, your hearing may fail, your dexterity in terms of how well you can sort of do those fine little manipulations. All that texting you do, that's gonna come back to haunt you when you're older. Also, your mobility in terms of your ability to actually move around. And as you often see in the news, you know, old people can be susceptible to things like Alzheimer's, where their memory will go. You know, it is a fact. Once you hit 40, your brain starts to shrink. So my brain is shrinking already. Once you get to 70, your brain's literally shrank by about 20%. And these changes will have a significant impact on people's independence. If you suddenly find that you can't do these things, you become very, very frustrated. And if you remember way back to the Bottle Project, we watched a video here about arthritis, a condition where the joints become inflamed and you can't move like fingers so well, you know, even, you know, in your elbows and your knees, but particularly in your hands, where, you know, any kind of movement or flexing around your knuckles just become really, really painful. So you need to try and sort of have a go at answering this question now. It's in your question booklet, okay, so it will be under question 3. So you want to look at something that some of you might be familiar with, a games controller. So can you state 3 sort of design features, okay? So what are the 3 things that a games controller must do? Okay, so the 3 obvious things. All right, you need to be able to sort of control games with it. It needs to be able, etc., etc. Section B of the question deals with the ergonomics and the anthropometrics that we've just been looking at. Okay, so you've got some figures there and percentiles. So remember the difference between the smaller percentiles and the larger group of people. All right, so you've got some average sizes there from the small to the big, and can you state an appropriate diameter, okay, for this controller here, all right, based on this information, but be able to justify your answer. All right, so even if you don't quite get it right, you can still pick up a mark for justifying why you think it should be that particular measurement. Okay, thanks for listening, and get on with the question.